Welcome to 1788, and welcome to part 1 of the USA presidential elections. Hope you enjoy. You could call this the election of 1788, or you could call it the election of 1789, as it happened in 2 separate years. This is the only US presidential election to have this distinction. The elections were quite chilled out this year, mainly because almost everybody knew that they wanted George Washington to win. However, this doesn't mean that he didn't have opponents. There were John Adams, John Jay, and George Clinton. However, I'll explain later how most of them wouldn't have a chance to win. There were 2 major political parties at the time, the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists. John Adams and John Jay were both Federalists, while George Clinton was an Anti-Federalist. Even though George Washington was technically an independent, most people knew that he was definitely more aligned with the Federalist Party. So technically, even though he was an independent, he was sort of on a Federalist ticket. However, as I mentioned earlier, most people knew that George Washington was going to win, as John Adams, John Jay, George Clinton and most other people didn't stand a chance. Actually, I forgot to mention, a lot more people were in the running for president, but these 4 were the main 4. There were about nearly 15 people running at that time. However, back in that day, in 1788, people would cast 2 votes for president and for vice president. So basically they were all competing for the vice presidency, as first place would become president and second place would become vice president, sort of as a constellation prize if you want to think of it like that. Who won? Well, George Washington, of course, won. Woo! Let's go, Washington! He won every single electoral vote at the time, being 69. John Adams came in second with 34 votes, making him the vice president. John Adams, by the way, you might want to remember that name. You're going to hear it quite a lot. John Jay received 9 electoral votes, and George Clinton received 3. Actually, I was slightly wrong. Despite the fact that these were the 4 main candidates, there were a lot more candidates that received electoral votes, even though I didn't mention them. I will now. Robert H. Harrison received 6 electoral votes. John Rutledge also received 6 electoral votes. And John Hancock received 4 electoral votes. Yes, George Washington won very, very easily. But will he continue to be loved into his first term? Find out in the next episode of Presidential Elections. Goodbye. Presidential Elections. Bye.